you finally bought a rope and you and your friends want to go climbing outdoors. Yay, what a fun adventure, but everyone goes through one problem. Where do you climb? You probably see mountains and say, okay, that way, but let's get more specific than that. I'm going to walk you through how to find routes using Mountain Project and then how to set up your top anchor routes. Let's go ahead and get started. Hi, I'm Sarah from SendEdition.com, the website that brings you tips and tricks for climbers and bouldering. In today's video, we're walking you through how to find routes and how to set up top rope anchors. To get started, I just want to do a forewarning. I actually did this video with the sound at the crag, but because the place that I was climbing at was pretty close to the road, there's a lot of road noise in it, and unfortunately, the sound is just disgusting. If you don't believe me, here's a little clip for you.
Just put the figure 8.
Yeah, so it really needed some work, and thus I'm doing this talking head voiceover for you. Let's go ahead and get started with the first step, which is getting the app. So go ahead and get the app, Mountain Project. I have the free version. Free version is for online only, which I did not think would be an issue until I was actually in the canyon and I no longer had internet. So when you go into the app, go ahead and click on the search routes and areas. And when you click on that, you're going to be able to come up with a search. The area that's closest to me is American Fork Canyon, so I checked that out. And then you click on areas to narrow it down to areas. From here, I scrolled through and found a filter, and I wanted to do something easy with my brother, so I changed the filters to be up to a 510A, and then I changed it to a top rope so there was no sport climbing or trad climbing, which is ideal if you've never been climbing outdoors before. Then I went into the description of these climbs and I found the climbs that said that you would be able to easily set up the top rope from hiking around it. Now, there was a couple of climbs that were like, yeah, this is top rope, and then you click into it and there was no clear way of getting the anchors set up without sport climbing to the top. And that was not what I was looking for, so just be sure to check that out when you are reviewing the routes. And then from there, we decided to hop in the car and get on our way. Once we were up in the canyon, I actually lost internet service and I no longer had access to directions through Mountain Project. But what I did have was a general idea of where I was, and I could see the climb on the map. So we pulled into a parking lot I thought was relatively close, and we started hiking up what kind of looked like a hiking thing. I could see quite a bit of footprints around, so I knew that people were hiking in this area. And I figured if anyone was crazy enough to hike this, it would be climbers. Unfortunately, we were wrong. And so we had to hike back down to the road, and this was really hard. I think I burned 1,000 calories just in like 5 minutes.
So we just climbed all the way this way, probably not very far, but look at how steep it is. It's gorgeous, but looking at the Mountain Project again, I saw a picture of a child and I saw what looked like flat ground, which is not here. So I think we have to go back down and just follow the road, which is a bummer because this was a pain to get to and getting down is going to be terrifying.
It was super exhausting. And so we got back to the road and we decided to keep looking. It must have been down the road. And I'd look at the map and I'd look at where we are. I'd go, okay, I think it's still further this way. I think that's the cliffside right there. And we found what seemed like the area, and it was actually really easy to get to. Just took a couple of minutes to get to the front side of the cliff where we'd be starting the climb. And then in the instructions it said if you climb around to the left side of the cliff, you'd be able to hike up to the top. So that's what we did. We hiked to the top so that we could set up the anchors. And there were chains that were like way over the side of the cliff, just a little too close to the edge for comfort. And so we hooked into these anchors.
Today's video, we're just going to do basic anchors. You can use 2, but I recommend 4 because it will help make your rope last longer.
The reason for this, it comes up with 4 carabiners, which creates a fatter depth for the rope to go through. This does 2 things. 1, your rope will last longer, and then 2, there's a little bit more friction, so people who aren't used to climbing outdoors and are used to the indoor anchors are thick, and so there's a lot of friction, and so this just kind of adds a little bit more friction. So if you haven't climbed outdoors before, I'd recommend doing 4 carabiners or 4 quick draws as a great starter for you.
So what you're going to do is you're going to take one end and put it through, and then you're going to take another one and in the opposite direction, put it in. So right now we have one anchor. Do you see how the gate is on this side? And then another one where the gate is on this side. So any give out, you have that extra safety. And then we're gonna do 2 on the other one.
Now we put through the rope on one end, and I created this big knot, and the knot was just so if half the rope fell off and it was rushing through, we wouldn't have to hike down to get the rope and thread it through again. This big knot would prevent it from falling through the anchors so that I could manually pull it down just in case the rope fell off the edge. Now it didn't, and the likelihood of that happening is totally dependent on your location. In our location, we had plenty of flat ground. There was plenty of space for the rope to hang out, so we didn't have to worry about it much. And then I just threw the rope down. As you can see, there was not enough rope on my first throw, so I had to pull in a bit more rope before I could throw it down. And I could tell by the tension on the rope that the rope did not reach the ground because it was pretty tight. So I kept lowering the rope until the rope tightness loosened up. And this is just an indication that it's on the ground because it's not pulling anymore, it's resting on the ground.
It's better if you have someone at the bottom. They can tell you if the rope's reached the bottom, because then you can just push down the other end of the rope. But just to be safe, because we don't have someone at the bottom, I'm going to just put down as much rope as I can until I stop feeling a force. Like right now, there's tension, which means gravity is pulling it down, which means it probably hasn't hit the bottom. Okay, it's getting much looser. And here's the halfway mark. Most ropes have some sort of halfway mark. This means we've reached 30 meters. And what we can do is we can toss the other half down as well.
There was a tarp on the other end of the rope, which I didn't want to flail about, tear, or anything like that. So I bundled the tarp and then wrapped the rope around it like a weight. And then I threw the rest of the rope over.
Just down.
Once you have the rope set up, there's 2 things you can do. You can hike back down, which is the safest way, or you can get lowered down by a belayer. If you're going to get lowered down by a belayer, make sure the rope is in, there aren't any kinks or knots. So you're just going to tie into the rope like you normally would on a top rope climbing, and then the belayer is going to belay you just like they normally would, except you're starting at the top instead of climbing to the top and coming back down. In this case, we hiked down together back to the ropes and got started. Josh, while I was getting things figured out, he undid the knot that I had created to prevent it from going through the top, and he put in a figure 8 knot, which is a very important knot you need to know. And then we've got the rest of the rope. He had a bundled up tarp, so he untied the tarp, unbundled it, and then laid everything out nicely so that there was clean rope for the belayer and for the climber. Now that the rope is set up, you can continue climbing just like you would normally. set up the gree-gree like normal. If you haven't top roped with the gree-gree before and want to know how to do that, I did make a video on how to use the gree-gree for top rope climbing. And then from there, it was my turn to put on my shoes and start climbing.
After you are done climbing, it is time to retrieve your gear. So just go ahead and pull the rope through nicely into your bag if possible. Sound, I'm sure, is unusable.
Here it comes.
If you want to organize your rope, this is a great way to do so. See how he's just kind of whipping it over? He's probably doing a little bit more work than he needs to, but look at how clean and organized this gets it. Nice thing about top rope climbing is it's relatively easy to clean up.
Now, what did I learn from this? First off, Mountain Project lets you pay more for offline access. That might be kind of nice to be able to download directions so that you don't end up on a 512A instead of a 59. But despite this experience, I still have the free version of Mountain Project. I'm really hoping that in my area there is a new guidebook coming out soon, and I will just purchase the guidebook. There's a guidebook for Southern Utah, which is where I was climbing a couple of weeks ago, and it was fantastic. It told me everything I needed to know. It told me where to park. It told me what the rock face was, where the routes were, and it was really easy to understand. And Mountain Project is trying to do that. It's not quite there yet. So when a new guide does come out, an updated version, I will probably purchase that. And then also rope. The rope that you're going to be using in the gym is going to be a lot stiffer and less dynamic than the rope you should be using outside. So a dynamic rope is when the rope is stretchy, which is important. If you fall, the stretchiness will help decrease the impact so it's not as painful for you or for the belayer. This also makes it so that you fall a lot further than you would at the gym. So just be prepared for these kind of differences. Other than that, have fun with your outdoor climbing. I hope you enjoy it, and let me know, maybe share some photos of you and climbing outdoors. What is your favorite part about climbing outdoors? Is it being in touch with nature? Is it the significantly cheaper prices than the gym? Is it the people that you get to be with? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to see it. Also, be sure to check out my other videos. I do videos about outdoor climbing, indoor climbing, and bouldering techniques, how-tos, product reviews. Go ahead and check it out. And of course, please subscribe to my channel. Thanks again for watching, and enjoy climbing outdoors.
All over your... Struggle is real.
This is the devil lives here. It's on my underarm. What is this? Am I safe? Besides hipping all over my butt?
Probably.